I have said repeatedly that I intend to close Guantanamo, and I will follow through on that.
Well, that was then candidate Obama in 2008 talking about his desire to close Gitmo. For the record, it's still open, but only because Congress refuses to let it be closed. And this week, the Senate okayed an amendment that would force Gitmo to stay open for another year, despite a veto threat from the White House over it. 10 Democrats joined with every Senate Republican in that vote. Now, in January, the prison at Gitmo will mark its 11th anniversary. 171 men still remain there, and critics claim the prison, designed to deny terrorist suspects any legal rights since the base isn't technically in the U.S., and that its remoteness and lack of oversight allowed for the torture of prisoners. Supporters say closing the prison and moving the suspects to the mainland would make our courts and prisons targets in themselves, and that anybody held at Gitmo doesn't deserve the legal protections that critics are complaining about. What do you think? Is it worth? Is it more of a headache than it's worth at this point, or is it still critical?
It may be, and they might close it, and people 5 years from now, 10 years ago, why was it such a big deal? Who knows? I think we need to step back from this and say enough of the politics. Do we really need it? What's the cost benefit? If it is needed, give the argument why it's needed. But my fear is the discussion is just a pure political conversation. It's all symbolism and no meaning.
I have two major problems with Gitmo staying open. One is we should be addressing these suspects with all the legal protections and all the legal rights that anybody else should have to make sure that all of this is done out in the open. And there are some that we don't have evidence enough on to try, which brings up a thorny question: is do you kick them loose or do you hold them indefinitely? The second,
but why should they get the same legal protection as regular citizens? Why?
Because they're human beings. Because any
really?
any human being deserves legal protection, including non-Americans. And the second complaint that I have is people who say, well, it's going to make New York a target if we try them in New York, or it's going to make the prison that we put them in a target. We got terrorists in high security prisons right now, and if we're afraid that something's going to happen because we try a terror suspect in New York City, we've just become victims of terrorism. We've been terrorized into not having that trial where it's supposed to be.
Well, Andrew puts his finger right on the issue. It's not Guantanamo, it's what do you do with those people? That's the issue.
Question.
It has nothing to do with Guantanamo.
The ones you can't try because you don't have enough evidence, or maybe you tortured them.
And if you agree that they are war combatants, or or in this case terrorists in war, then you have to be treated differently than someone who's caught burglaring the corner store, right?
I still think you try them. I still think you give them a trial.
Why do Americans need the headache of any American city? You have a suspect. Notice I said suspect. You're not convicted, but can you imagine the circus that would entail, the security detail, the millions of dollars that additionally that would have to be spent, the daily protests, the alleged terrorism that would take place simply because this person is in this particular court? Leave them in Guantanamo Bay.
And do they need to be proven beyond a reasonable doubt? That is a different standard of evidence than you would apply to terrorists in war. And that's the issue. You absolutely define the issue. It's not about Guantanamo.
We'll be right back.